Well, we know the tax system is about to be implemented, so we thought we'd get some more details for you from Rajiv Hira. He's a finance professional with an experience of leading roles in private and multinational financial institutions for over 25 years. He's got expertise in connecting people and processes at arriving at a very effective value position for business. Rajiv's joining us. You're shaking your head. No, what are you trying to be modest, are you?
No, I'm perfectly fine. I said it's a long introduction, so maybe people know a lot on Rajiv.
Let's just say you know business and you know tax, and that's why we wanted to have you in, because one of the new UAEs coming in is for the VAT. A lot of countries do have a value-added tax, and significantly, this is for e-commerce businesses that make 100 million dirhams in sales, need to specify the emirate where their order is delivered. Now, we were just talking off air, some of these big companies aren't just florists that you buy flowers from. They're generally, for example, the food delivery companies. So let's take one of those, for example, and they now need to specify whether their funds have come from deliveries in Abu Dhabi or Dubai.
Perfect. Thanks, Kitch, for introduction, and thanks, Neil, also here in the studio. So just picking up, VAT is an old story now, started in 2018. A lot of things have moved, a lot of things have changes. And I think let's go to the background and the basics first to get into why this change is happening. So that's more important. From my perspective, I always say we all are learning law, taxes, but the basic thing which starts is why something is being done, how becomes more important after that. So looking at from a UAE perspective, what they started off is they said anyone who has a place of establishment in UAE. So when I say place of establishment, very simple, having a trade license or a branch which is registered anywhere in UAE. Mm-hmm. The moment you have that, your supply is considered to the place where your establishment is located. Let's say example, if I have a company which is a general trading company and my license is registered in Dubai, whichever part of the UAE I'm selling, I'll report everything as part of a Dubai. Now, second process or second principle comes if I don't have a place of establishment. That means I may be a non-resident from a company perspective, but I do business in UAE. So I don't have a registered location, but I may have some agents who are acting on my behalf. Then I have a place of establishment in various emirates or location. In that case, I report in the emirates where I'm supplying the goods. That means the recipient where it's sitting into. So this was a law before the change which we're going to talk about has come up. So to give a mix and match, as we know, e-commerce is interesting business. You can do business from anywhere in the world, even anywhere in the UAE. You maybe end up dispatching something in Ras Al Khaimah sitting in Dubai or vice versa. Now, this is where the regulation came, and we need to understand any revenue which is made on VAT, there is a share which goes to federal level and there is a share which goes to Emirates level. So now, from a legal perspective, you see there is no tax which is add-on or there is no additional liability which is brought up. Only thing is the reporting mechanism is changing. So that's where the change, and that's where we're going to talk about something more on this.
So that's where it comes in. So if you're, say, for example, a car share business, car hire, and you do a couple of orders, people using your service in Dubai as opposed to Sharjah, you need to report so each emirate knows where the tax income needs to go.
Correct. So the regulation is very, very clear on how they have changed. I think the regulation came up in the month of Feb, and they have given a lot of time for the e-commerce companies to get adjusted with. And because we are not talking about a smaller organization, we're talking about an organization which has an e-commerce business of more than 100 million. So that means a lot of data, a lot of IT system amendments which are required. So that's why there is enough amount of time being given to people. Now, multiple things again coming into how this regulation is going to implement. They have said very clearly some of the factors which all need to be looked at if you're calling it something up, maybe you can say an e-commerce company or an e-commerce activity. Before we get into that, if we are doing both brick and mortar and e-commerce, this 100 million is only an e-commerce value which we are calculating. We are not calculating at an entity level.
Okay.
We are calculating only e-commerce level. So that's where it goes into.
So even if you've got a shop based, just say you do some of your trade that's e-commerce.
Correct.
And some of it is an old-fashioned shop that you got in a shopping centre. Do you have to do you have to declare where your deliveries are if you still own a shop, or is it only your e-commerce deliveries that need to be reported?
Perfect. So it's a very valid and very great question. What we see right now also, a lot of like a fashion stores, they have an e-commerce channel.
Yeah.
But they deliver in the store itself. They say, which select the nearest store to you.
Right.
And
Shop
you come
and
and pick it up.
Yeah.
Shop and pick from the shops.
Right. Yeah.
This is not e-commerce.
Oh, okay. So every time there is an element of the brick and mortar store involved, it is not e-commerce.
Correct.
Interesting. So, like you mentioned, that 100 million cap that has been set, the bar that has been set, that is for exclusive end-to-end delivery mechanism, e-commerce, nothing to do with what the brick and mortar is selling.
Exactly. So you have to break both the numbers, understand if you are doing more than 100 million or not in the e-commerce. Then only you come into this preview, and then only you get into those all conversations.
And what are some of the fines going to be if businesses aren't complicit with this new rule?
So technically speaking, fines are very different in a UAE perspective, because it's a misreporting, technically speaking. So on a misreporting, the fine starts with 20,000 dirhams and goes based on the value and the quantum which goes into.
But there wouldn't be really any value in misreporting statistic like this, would there?
So logically, if you see, as I said, what I'm supposed to, let's say, as of date, I'm doing all my e-commerce, central location is Dubai. I'm reporting all the values in my Dubai as a Emirates. But from 1st July perspective, I may show how much is being delivered to Ras Al Khaimah, how much is delivered to Al Quwain, Abu Dhabi, and I'm going to break all those elements.
Right.
And that's where the mandatory requirement comes into play.
And this is not just for residents. These are maybe overseas businesses that just have representatives that are working here.
Exactly. So that's what we said. First of all, from a VAT perspective, for non-residents, there are no threshold being defined. So even 1 dirham of business, if a non-resident is doing with the customers who are not a B2B business, or there are no agents being appointed in between, they have to register in UAE very straight away from the first transaction.
And what has the reaction been? Have you heard anything? Has anyone spoken out about this, pro or against it?
So I don't think there is a value terms. There is definitely a preparation terms. There are challenges people are facing on account of how the system has to be coped up to work in and give those data, which is required to put it across.
But what about businesses who perhaps declare their earnings in other countries? You know, if you're a technology company, some of the tech companies that we use every day to use our emails are based in Ireland. You know, if they're, declaring all of their income through Ireland, or do they have to register here, or is there an equality of tax, a taxing share agreement between the two countries?
There's no taxing sharing kind of agreement, but there is definitely a VAT implication which is there. So there are special services, let's say entertainment. Example, we see Netflix, we see any e-channel or anything in UAE. So wherever entertainment is enjoyed, the tax is applicable in that country.
Okay.
So let's say if I'm watching any e-channel in UAE sitting, or I'm using any kind of a services sitting in UAE, the registrant, that means maybe whichever e-commerce company or whichever e-channels are there, they have to register in UAE and pay due taxes.
What if I've got my VPN on? And I won't let you answer that one.
No, you can. I'll
well, I mean, but what if I've got my VPN on to watch the Australian football in Australia that I can't access legally anyway here? Because I'm not breaking the law by using a VPN. But if I want to access, Aussie sport content that's not on any of the providers here, what happens then?
So, Kitch, see, as we have our own ideas, even regulators have their own ideas. So they start vouching for the IP address which is used, point number one, the payment gateways which are used. So we have enough of information to crack and go back to the vendors who are supplying you and you're using from a UAE perspective.
Okay, interesting. Now, see, there are so many, interesting points that one has to keep in mind when all of these things come in. And right now, like you mentioned a while back, that, it is technically for the ones who are on the threshold of 100 million dirhams. But in due course of time, does one, as probably a small business, a small e-commerce business, or someone who's doing business on just purely Instagram, buying T-shirts, printing T-shirts, selling T-shirts, or buying candles and selling candles, do they also need to start preparing for something that could come in 3 years' time? Or like the tax guys say that, hey, 7 years is a period that we can look into your files at any point in time.
Correct. So one of the best part, I will say, UAE is very different than any other country we have seen. So in UAE, for doing any business, you need a trade license, or you need a freelance license, or you need some license, some kind of a form and fashion where you register yourself. So you cannot do an e-commerce business in UAE without having registration from an e-commerce activity.
Okay.
So you're anyway in the ambit. Now the business is small or large, there is always a thresholds being given by tax authorities. So if you're doing a business up to 375,000, although you may be registered as an e-commerce company, you don't come under the ambit of VAT.
Okay.
So you enjoy, no taxes to be paid up to 375,000. The moment you cross then obligations definitely come up.
Well, what would you advise someone like producer Pranav, who resells all the free stuff we get for cash? Should he be registering as a business, or what should he do?
So definitely, first of all, whatever trading he's doing, it's a personal effect only.
Okay.
So there is a difference between the personal effect and the business. So
that is a legitimate question. Yeah.
So I have my car. I'm going to sell it today to the market. It's in my name of Rajiv Hira.
Yeah.
So now this is a personal effect. I have not taken a VAT claim. I'm not earning anything from that business. But when I'm selling it, it's a one-off transaction. Hence, it's out of the scope from a VAT perspective. So far, I'm not doing something for the purpose of business. It does not come under the VAT ambit. But yes, if I keep doing this trade for the purpose of business, I buy, let's say, second-hand product, I refurb it, give some outlook, give a good design and get the different perspective, and I sell in the market. That's becoming a business.
A lot of people do have that question. If you've bought a car and then 3 months later you sell it, you're not paying any tax on that. You don't have to register as a business. It's a private service.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Well, if you do have any questions, you can let us know, 0586861003. It's incredibly complicated for a lot of businesses. If people do have any questions, Rajiv, where should they go? Should they get in touch with you? What's the best line for a lot of businesses?
I think the regulators are doing quite a good. Ministry is doing a lot of workshops, seminars, online sessions. They have issued a lot of guidance note on that perspective. Always people can refer to. Otherwise, there are consultants like me and other people who are there. We can always connect on LinkedIn. There's a plethora of information now from a VAT perspective. Now the second thing which you're looking at a corporate tax, and I'm sure
taxes,
lot news happening.
But then see, when you say there's a plethora of information available, obviously yes, not everyone is tuned or probably understands the corporate language, the tax language, because these are legal terms, and to understand that, one has to probably either understand it clearly or probably just pick up the phone and reach out to someone like you, Rajiv.
So they need to keep listening to.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like this plug.
Kitch and Neeil. So that's where a lot of information is coming. I'm sure in the breakfast meetings also. I'm being part of a couple of meetings before that. But anyway, anyone is welcome to connect and look for any more information where we provide.
Well, if you do want to find Rajiv, you can check him out on LinkedIn. Rajiv, Ragiv Hira, Hira, for any questions about compliance strategy and tax advisory. Thank you very much for coming in. We look forward to chatting again soon.
Sure. Most welcome. It's a great one, and I'm sure car has multiple answers to what you refer to. So the more you delve into, the more information it comes in.
Definitely.
Don't do a commission business in between. So that's not the personal effect.
TSB, Talk Sport Business.